Commissioner Ilara. Commissioner Ilara, good morning. Before we talk too much, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Civic Space. I greet all comrades on the call. I think I've said this joke before that we're in a meeting at our local stuff and somebody was talking and the comrade suddenly started addressing him as sir. And then the guy to notice and he questioned the comrade, why are you calling me sir? And the comrade said, because you are sounding like one of our slave masters when slave masters. Right, so please uh, until we regain back our own respect. Yes, we are African people, we are very respectful, but some of these words um, have a hidden meaning in slavery, in our enslavement. Yes sir, no sir. uh, when we listen to zombie or zombie, fella describe it, what it connotes really in their philosophy and language. Yeah, but that being said, good morning. Aval Lumumbi is Comrade Godwin, Comrade Angel, I guess. Let me expose your. I when you were mentioning that, you know, um, Obi had a meeting with Obasanjo and who Obasanjo really is, you know. And then it just dawned on me that let me go and look for the old archive um, of Obasanjo. And then because a lot of people believe, even in the camp of the obedient, that Atiku is a criminal, even though Atiku does not have, as a vice president, is not an elected position constitutionally. This Nigeria, see, Nigeria is a crime scene. You could defend crime, and that explains why people could actually come and defend their favorite criminals openly without any consequence, because the law justifies crime. The criminal constitution that we have today justifies crime and also legalize crime, even though in the same vein would say that it will speak against it, right? So constitutionally, the office of the vice president is not an elected office, even though it's also uh, unconstitutionally the second in command in case something happened to the president. But it's not actually um, the person in charge, right? And as such, it's almost hard to criminalize the activities of the vice president in power. But that being said, even as that will be known constitutionally, this constitutionally now, I'm arguing with the criminal constitution that we have and we call constitution. But even with that known, even with that um, constitutional agreement that is known, people will still go over to charge Atiku. Of course, his activities in the government is not just will predate his vice presidential role, right, during Obasanjo era. But people will still criminalize him for Obasanjo. And the only reason majority of them would have against him was a book that Obasanjo published talking about businesses folding up. That reminds me, I ordered for the book. I don't know why. I do not usually order. And those ones too, they scam me. Till date, I did not get the book. They are telling me that they want to get the autograph of Obasanjo. And I was like, who is asking you to get me autograph of Obasanjo? I just need the book. Let me read the idiot. What the idiot, wrote. So I had to get the book other way. But back to the matter. That the only evidence that people would have against Atiku to say that Atiku is a criminal is the confession. Maybe not the only confession, because Atiku also had the record would have it that he also did a press conference admitting that he is a criminal. Yes. So the starting point of that case is what Obasanjo would describe in his book. I don't know if it was autobiography, but whatever rubbish that he wrote there, and describe it as in his watch, where the confessions will be made, even though there is no constitutional right to criminalize the office of the vice president. But majority of people would leave Obasanjo and point fingers as his own vice president that he appointed. The office of the vice president, again, is an appointment, not an elected office. So, and he will criminalize Atiku based on his own pen, right? So, if we trust Obasanjo spend that much and his brain that much, we should be also be interested in who and what he described himself as. So a case happened, and on April 3rd of April 2023, Obasanjo described himself with a letter to the chief clerk, the Central Criminal Court, Old Bailey, London. The whole letter is on the Jumbotron, right? The link is from the Channels TV archives. But we can always get the letter, even if they remove it from there. Right? We will not forget. But it's not what he wrote really, because I don't pay attention to this idiot. It's how he described himself that will be interesting to me. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Of course, I encourage comrades to.
It's not there. Sheun, it's not there. It's just your poster is there. The link to the letter is not there.
I thought I posted it. Let me post it as a comment under this then. All right. There you have it. It's now there. Just check the comment under this. Can you see it now?
Let me check.
The comments under the comment.
Okay, yes. I can see it now. I can see it.
Yeah. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, so the first paragraph he wrote, and I will read. My dear chief clerk, may I seize this opportunity to commend your utmost dedication and resourcefulness, which you have demonstrated with rare qualities of commitment and courage, while also upholding the cherished traditions of the public service. Do you know Obasanjo is a poet? He showed it here. So I continue. Upholding the traditions of the public service. Please note it. Note that public service. I am Olusegun Obasanjo, a soldier commissioned into the British Army of the West African Frontier Force in 1958 and rose to the rank of a full general in the Nigerian Army. Comrades. So, and by the way, the equivalent of the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency in US, in UK, is SIS, Secret Intelligence Service. I'm going to read that statement again, and you will tell me if it has nothing written all over in it that this guy works for SIS. Let me read it again. I am Olusegun Obasanjo, a soldier commissioned into the British Army of the West African Frontier Force in 1958 and rose to the rank of a full general in the Nigerian Army. Commissioned into the British Army. The service that he rendered the British Army only got him promotion in the Nigerian Army. That is what he's saying. He is never commissioned to the Nigerian Army, meaning he is ordered. Order. This guy is writing it here. That he see everything he can be responsible for everything, but not to Nigerian government. That his designation post is Nigerian Army. And if you have anything issue with that, you can let me know if I'm not interpreting it well. If that is not the way, if that is not sounding right to you that way. That's not the end. I'll continue. I received the surrender of the Biafran army at the end of the Nigerian Civil War. And our Biafran brothers are with this idiot. Man. I will receive that statement again. This is Obasanjo's pen. This is Obasanjo's pen. This is not under duress. This was never, expected of Obasanjo to have done. This was done out of charity. I will receive this. I will restate the statement again. I received the surrender of the Biafran army. Wait a minute. So there was actually a win, a victor, as against what the idiot at the head of state then said, that there is no conqueror, there is no victor, there is no loser, there is no winner. So there is actually a winner. Obasanjo is pointing it here. By the way, and for many of us who think Obasanjo war for Yoruba people, Obasanjo is telling you he didn't war for Yoruba people. He never did. I received the surrender. Please, maybe we need to still echo this thing till it sink, really. I received the surrender of the Biafran army at the end of the Nigerian Civil War. So if this is not need, see, tell me if what Obasanjo is doing here is oversabi, or that is reminding them of a work that was sent to be done by him, by the so-called British army that actually trained him, where he commissioned. That is only designation, which some of them could have been designated, just like in Sierra Leone. Some of the armies designated to Sierra Leone, or the individuals even designated there, because if you check in the record, you will realize that Sierra Leone is part of the country, just to meddle down on what Ethiopia did as one of the countries that was never colonized, but is a different case entirely from Ethiopia. But they did that deliberately. But if you check those people who made up majority of Sierra Leoneans that were designated, not all, some were free enslaved that returned back to Sierra Leone, but majority of them were CIAs. They were trained and designated there. So this is what this guy also is saying, that it's just like you have a UN peacekeeping mission in your land. This is exactly what Obasanjo is saying with his pen. And when there was need to fight a war to keep the system that they created, under which he has been designated to supervise, to keep it intact, he would not even mind risking his life. He didn't. So I received the surrender of the Biafran army at the end of the Nigerian Civil War. I was military head of state from 1976 to 1979 and elected president from 1999 to 2007, meaning I did the obedience. If you hate Gandhi as an African, you probably hate Gandhi not because of what Gandhi did in India, but because of what he did in South Africa and in African places, who he represented. Obasanjo is saying that he also played that role in Gandhi's way. Because these guys I don't get interested or gym by them, by their intelligence. There is nothing intelligence that fascinates me about them, really. Yes, we can study them just like I'm doing that with a purpose to expose him, nothing else. It's not that after doing that I go and listen to Obasanjo. It does not in any way inspire me or inspire anything in me at all, so I don't listen to them. But that's why I will not be interested enough to read all the jargons that they will read. But if you reach paragraph 2, you will now get to hear more jargons because he exposes himself the more. But let me go to paragraph 3, the third paragraph. I clearly remember that in the early days of the King contest for the presidential ticket of our party, early 1999, he joined other well-meaning Nigerians from the southeastern part of Nigeria to set aside extraneous considerations and ensured that Southeast unanimously adopted me for the presidency. So the question again is the question you should ask is why is Obasanjo writing the clerk telling Ekweremadu's role towards his election as a president during the Third Republic in 1999? Why is it important for the clerk to know, if not that him being the president is also an extension of the SIS? So this is the guy that majority of our brothers now, now want to go and associate with. This person, you believe his pen when he described his employed thief, because the office, like I said, the office of the vice president is an houseboy role. Something that even this idiotic president that we have now was able to identify on time, that he didn't take the offer when the offer was given to him, because they know it's an houseboy role. So he could describe his houseboy that acted under his instructions. And that's another thing with the oppressed. We don't even know the power dynamics, how power dynamics works. We blame every other person apart from the person we should blame, and think, oh, àwọn èèyàn tó surround there ni àwọn èèyàn ló wicked. No, that is you being thinking like oppressed. There is nothing like àwọn èèyàn tó surround there ló wà wicked. He has the luxury of deceiving you, of keeping his action, using people again to do his bidding. That's the interpretation. So if he has the option of using a security man to ensure that he brutalizes you at the gate, he is not going to do it himself. Is going to use the security man. So when the security man interact with you in a way, you should get the message that the security man can never and would never have acted to you that way, with or without the consent of the person who employed him or her. But yeah, you will be any nonsense talk. As in, one of the things I think the knowledge we still need to go and get, just like civil space commissioner Fresh is saying, one of the knowledge we need some of the knowledge. Yes, I must admit that we need to know how it works, how they work really, the philosophy that guides them. We need to know it. One of the things that we need to know is how power works. That the reason they can gather in the same room is not because they like themselves. It's because they can afford to use other people's children to do their fights. And when people see Showore, for instance, and can't be in the same room, can't accommodate them, and they are asking him to show the same level of pretense that their oppressors are showing to themselves, is because Wole Soyinka, I'm saying Wole Soyinka, is because Showore does not see it. Even though he has the capacity to use other people's children to do the fight, but he does not see it as a worthy way to fight and combat the oppressors. You see? So what you celebrate in them to say that they are diplomatic is that they are using your life to do this kite to play. And that's what they do with our lives. So they can be diplomatic with themselves. They can show fake smile to themselves because they know that there are boys on the street who can do the job for them on their behalf. So there is nothing like there are people who surround him. If you two have believed that, don't believe that again, please. If Obasanjo is describing his vice president, Obasanjo is extremely guilty. It takes a criminal to employ one, right? But yeah, so that was one of the things that fascinates me about when Civic Space was talking, to say that they didn't know who Obasanjo is really, and that Obasanjo has a proof. I just feel like sharing the proof, with us, to see that there is a proof that Obasanjo is an SIS agent, equivalent of CIA agent. And if there is anyone aligning with Obasanjo, the person is working for a foreign interest, definitely. This is enough of evidence needed. Did you hear the UK government denying his introduction? No, not at all. I'm not sure they responded to him, but not at all. So I, I just felt like I should share that with comrades, right? That this is the element. So if by extension, because by association you can identify, there are things in criminology that can be traceable to a crime, by association and by following the money. So by association, is Peter Obi by association? Is he working with the interest other than Nigerian interest? Yes, obviously. Anyone identifying with this person openly is obviously telling us that they are working for something other than our system. That's the long and short of it. And if they are serious to debunk it, I won't be the person they will come for. They will come for the person who wrote this letter. But that's not the way the system works, right? Yeah. So let's see if the ink of the writer would not be enough evidence at the court of law. Of course, who's court again? You know, because I said we should highlight public service in the first paragraph. Ah man, public service. Hmm. People are complaining about sport. The World Athletics has started, and then I saw one of the finest athletes currently in the world athleticism complaining about the kit that she received from Nigeria. Of course, it's good. We should encourage that. Silence to the oppression just means total submission to oppression. And Nigeria is in such a bad state. We are not in just a bad state because of what we are experiencing. We are in just a bad state because we feel like it is now optional to say these things. We feel like we can afford not to say it. Describing our realities now is now like something that is optional to do as African people. That's a bad state. That's an extreme bad state where we can get to the point of reasoning and philosophy with our oppressors without necessarily changing our realities. That me, I can be in my house now, just like Comrade Mr. Fresh too have said, that I'm in my house, I am unproductive, I am I am I am less productive like I should, even though it will not be based on my intelligence or my availability to be productive, but that the system had conditioned us, just to be unproductive. That even the moment people who even that the only activities really that we do that is anything economical in this nation is going from point A to B and doing nothing. Just going from your house that you wake up and our people are not thinking that we just wake up, do all this so much stress just to end up at the table and be putting your head on the table so that you can doze off. No. That's why African people, our closest point of interacting with our intellect is when we come online. That's why we argue. There is nothing productive really that is engaging us in the full scale of our intelligence as a group and as a people. That's even more than death. That at the point where you start thinking it that way, that you know that you oh God, that we are not in this mess because we do not have capacity to produce some certain result, but we are not being given the chance to even do so, to either make mistake or get it right. And such person who has been conditioned to only see, that's why we don't complain about when we are trapped in 4 hours traffic. And African people don't really because it doesn't make any to him. Is the waste of that time that justifies his productivity, not the engagement of that time. That's why people don't see the traffic alone, the need to even cause uprising. Because we are not productive. The proof that we are not productive is that we have not considered solving traffic problem as a priority. It shows we are not productive. And check where there is high level of traffic, the so-called place that is termed as excellent areas, that in Lagos today, even though it's not as wide as Ibadan in terms of landscape, but that you could spend 4 hours to a natural distance of 25 minutes and people does not see it as problem because ibi tó ń lọ náà kò lọ ṣe anything, pure waste of time. And the people who want to come online and come and prove something that is not there, problem ti wà. That want to use our astronaut brain to come and argue on Twitter only. Problem ti wà. Problem ti wà. Something we should be thinking of. By the way, in the astronaut story, Africans are there. Three figures, the three hidden figures, is a book and a movie. To say that there is nothing they have done outside us is a pointer, and they were females, right? There is actually a movie also adapted in that called The Three Hidden Figures. Even though the astronautic story being on the space is something that will call for question mark, but even in that fabricated question mark, because those people who solved mathematical problems that will eventually lead to finding the right coordinates, for a successful landing, were two of them actually was an African mathematician, black Africans, black American Africans, that were mathematicians. But that's not the story. That's for another day, right? But that we are not productive. On such system that has disengaged, and even when no, so wetin I dey even talk before. I wan talk about something before I remember that. So we are not. So the bottom line is that we are not engaged. We are not engaged. That being reporting to office and typing one or idiotic notes or letters is not engaging us. Or the worst one is to be counting money and use calculator at the end of the day to count it. That African people don't feel that these jobs we need to crash them. That these are not even the jobs we are talking about as African people. Because when an African man talks about being gainfully employed, I hope you know it's just in terms of what he's able to go back home with. It's not about how expressive that job makes him or her. It's not in terms of innovation. It's not in terms of creation. It's not because an African man has been conditioned to still continually see themselves in slavery. Conditioned. The word is on condition. And conditioning is never a peaceful process. It's a forceful process. It's one that would come with still having the likes of Obasanjo as an AIS agent, still involved, actively involved in our political terrain. So it's just man. So yeah. Yorùbá people, my people will say ọ̀rọ̀ tó bá ti kọjá ẹkún a máa bú sẹ́rìn ni. And if you also notice that I've not seen a madman crying. I don't think so. I think at the peak of emotion of a madman is to burst into laughter. So you could say that I'm going mad. Yes, that's what the situation is getting us to. He's getting to the point where instead of cry, because he can no longer cry anymore. This one has passed crying. So we are not productive. That being gainfully employed under slavery is that you have a pay and you are able to pay the bills. Yes, I agree with you under slavery. But should that still be the goal? under their claimed freedom and liberty, that the best an African man would say to depict his seniority or his advantage over another African man is what he could have earned from those jobs. And that is normal. And I'm talking of what is normal, what is not seen as abnormal. This is normal. No, such environment is no. It's not one that is without CIA and SIS agents in the aim of affairs. It's not an environment that is it's an environment that is actively in charge by foreign interest, right? There were several things I wanted to say. So I was talking about sport. That was how I got here. And to see that, because some of us will analyze some of these issues as if we are analyzing something external from us. We are experiencing it also. So when Toby was complaining about our GS not complete, not having this, I was wondering what is complete in my own life. That the public service, by the way, that's why I quoted public service. Tó bá ti kọjá ẹkún àwọn bú sẹ́rìn ni, after we don pass cry, we would laugh, we burst into laughter. I was, because that was how I was processing it. Like, I was wondering what is complete, because that would also determine how many Nigerians will process the information of Toby Amusan. That many Nigerians will look at her and say, she's ungrateful. Why would she be saying this? Why will you be telling your country that your country did not provide you GS? Can't you go and buy one? Because, and they are not, they are not being wicked. I made a post this morning that the oppressors, when they suddenly start thinking like the oppressors, when they accept his worldview, it's not out of malice, it's not out of hatred for self. It's not just that they hate self. The hate self is an offshoot of a problem of the plant in itself. Yes, they hate self. They are angry with self. They are angry with government. But that's just an offshoot. That the pointer is that they have been programmed and conditioned to do so. And what will condition people to do so is when they have lived that reality or currently living the reality. Because majority of us are also currently living the reality of this systemic abandonment. So how dare you, Toby Amusan, to now portray your own as the biggest? You should understand now. They just give you opportunity. You are now popular. Use your money now. That's the ways they will start thinking. So when they do so, because and this is when you now know it's systemic, because it will not just be one. If it is just one, then that means it's just an error. It will not just be few. If it's just few, then that means we should not pay attention to it. It will be majority of us, of the oppressed, that will be thinking that way. Me, I'm not sure. See what I'm saying now. I've not checked any comment under our post, but I know by default, I know that is what is going to happen by this analysis of engaging whatever the problem. I just saw the video. I saw the video she expressed, and me, I was like, kudos, girl. That's more of that is still needed. We still need to call for that. But I know that by the virtue of my experience also, I'm going something without liberating my mind. Something would have said also, if I was still in their condition, because it's a conditioning. If I was still in their condition, something also would have said, but the government have abandoned me, just like Civil Space said, that the effort that it takes to get water from the so-called borehole, that the borehole process is not even free, that the borehole process is not cheap, that to have a borehole, you can be considered a form of luxury. People still carry plastic on their head to fetch water, bath. They call it bath. Even in today's age. So and the reason why they do so is because they do not even have access to water. So to have a borehole, you are scared one or do. So you can give testimony and say, mo dúpẹ́ pé mo rí àánú gbà torí kì í ṣe gbogbo ènìyàn. Oh, what the fuck? Back to serious stuff. So you can. This is serious matter. So she will be serious. This is serious matter. Yeah. So you are already out of some certain percentage of multidimensional poverty, because part of the multidimensional poverty that was calculated will be access to water. That I hope Africans and Nigerians know that people die within our nation and across Africa due to bad water, non-access to water, and in most cases, undrinkable water because of the pollution that will have happened. But back to the case, that even as this would be elitist in a way to have borehole, that you dare not even drink the water coming directly from your borehole, which is also my reality, that even though I have a borehole and I have a filter, can you imagine? We still have a filter joy, but I cannot drink the water coming from my tap. So when I process what Tosin Amuson, Toby was saying, my part of me was like, ṣé kò mọ̀ pé gbogbo wa ni wọ́n ti abandon ni? Gbogbo wa, we are all children of abandoned fathers and mothers. You know, but so that's why I said I quite agree, but not all of us even come to display our abandonment online anymore. We just hide it and facade it under the idea of big mannerism. You know, that some of us don't want to share it. And I like what Civil Space shared also about his son's school fees. You know, why you were 54,000 is a lot. There will be vast majority of our people who have been excluded from education because they do not even have that access to money. But I remember that there was a time like that. I don't know what was doing me. Maybe I was looking for more motivation then to not think of this thing. If you know, you know. So I went around some area on the island and I was asking them how much KG was playing. And this cannot be less than cannot be less than 5 years ago. And they were saying the list of the bill around that place, around Lekki Phase 1, for kindergarten level was around between 1 million to 1.5 billion. You know what that does to you now? So if you know, you know. Right. But back to athleticism, that our so-called athletes, no, our honorable athletes will be out to compete and with their counterparts. And the reason, don't tell me what they win. The reason they will not win, the reason they cannot win, they cannot dominate, is already spelled out. And it has nothing to do with their capacity and their abilities. If you watch Nigerian sport and you think what you are seeing is the full level of our capacity and our abilities, my brother, you don't know the system. I mean, why you are supposed to understand it, because we are going through the system together. But one way or the other, you see, this is where we have issues with institutions that distract us from really understanding our reality, from paying attention to our reality. This is why the issue with me and Bia Palo, we cannot settle it. This is why the issue with me and the religious setting, we cannot settle it. Because even though we are living it, we are living an experience. And in their idiotic school, they told us experience is the best teacher. But in our own case, this experience will not be teaching us anything. So even though this is our collective experience, that the collective experience that we are living, that just like our productivity during the day is also not determined by us or how prepared we are. It's not, it has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with what this system has orchestrated. And the plan of this system, I know, is not one to help us get productive. It's not one to help us succeed. The plan of this system is one to do otherwise. So the system that sends an uncompleted year to an athlete, is that, can we say that system is the friend of the athlete? Never. And this is not once, you can also check it in history. This is not once that our athletes will cross carpet from being Nigerian to others and they would succeed. The same way also some of our professionals too are jackpying. See, by the time you also study this, you will understand this public service where this idiot called Obasanjo put for here, and what that public service is supposed to do to us as African people, and who benefit from this failure of this public service. Not failure, sorry, who benefit from his success. And Tobi Amuso also said the same thing. She said, so when people change allegiance means that she can nationalize, unlike football, that you cannot change your country of participation after you have participated to the major team. In athleticism, you can change. I've forgotten the name of this Nigerian guy who transferred to, I think, Portugal, and he won almost immediately. He conquered the world in athleticism. I think in sprint, 100-meter sprint. Right, I'm not sure of his name, but if you Google it, you would get it right. And it's not just the only person. It's not just the only person. So there are things that is, like I said, sport reveals several things to me personally. Following sport, following these things really, it helped me understand my reality better. So there are things that are willing, when this idiot of Obasanjo do their SIS agent work to convert us. So when some of us think that we are jackpotting to be out of the matrix, that you are still playing to the matrix by the time you understand the system. And the Obasanjo letter portray everything here. You are still doing everything to the matrix. Of course, if you are here also and you are not doing anything consciously to end this system, you are still also doing matrix. A comrade on Saturday said something. He said, it's either you are doing everything or you are doing something to the working of this matrix. And that's deep. It's either you are doing everything or you are doing something. And this is where it's dangerous. You see that we are putting in so much effort to keep this system going, or we are doing our barest minimum, provided this system exists, and we still fancy our existence under it. That's the unfortunate sad reality. So when I saw the video of Tosin Amusan, and I think it was Civic that shared it. It was Civic, yes, it was Civic that shared the report from another person. Even though I've also had of the, because I was not shocked. It's not today. It's not today Nigeria started this idea of getting into the competition late, not preparing, borrowing kits. There was a time a fan had to give an athlete his own kit. The fan is not an athlete, his own kit, and the athlete had to be doing washing and wearing. That in one of the competition, the fan got late and was disqualified in a competition because she was hoping that her gear would dry. She was waiting for her gear to dry before wearing it, and she missed her train in the course of doing so. Different stories. But what Nigerians think is happening is that Nigerians think that the public service that we have here is for us to work. No, it's not for us to work. It's for the people who set it up, for them to keep working. And I'm going to end there. That the sports sector, even though some of us in our mind wants to exclude it one way or the other because it has gotten our emotion. If there is anything also that we must find difficult to accept and accept in its entirety, because what it does is to distract us rather than pointing us to the problem, is the entertainment and sporting area. The sport area is something we have to, under this system, we have to do everything we can to destroy it. Yeah, when I mean destroy it, I do not mean the activities in itself. The activities can still go on, but the philosophy of the activities in itself needs to be destroyed. The philosophy in its activities that we only demand true success from ourselves when we have to compete with other Africans needs to be destroyed. That concept that says this is the first black person to win this award needs to be destroyed. That when they echo the rubbish to us, we destroy it immediately and we do not entertain it. Because I've never seen the first white person to do anything. Which means they are selling this construct to us deliberately to sell us an idea that we are inferior. And many of us, unfortunately, have believed it. And that's the inferiority that I can bet you that in some working nations of the world, if they experience a waste of time that is constant in traffic up to 4 hours, there will be civil war because they will consider it as an attack. But the reason why it's not showing that same, because at the end of the day, we too gone, we are not interested. Because the system is not, as conditioned us, it's not our fault, as conditioned us not to use our brain. So we are not even interested. So at condition us to major on the minor, like civil space will say, and minor on the major. So that it's only on spaces that people wants to leave the profession that they have been denied of in actual reality. It's only in the fantasy world. That's an oppressed talking there. That our You know, that for instance, you can slap people. There are a lot of people you can slap in real world that will not stop. But come online, they it's my time to talk. It's my time to talk. Okay, can you give me my time to my time has not expired. I have 1 more minute. So the idiot that they are oppressing daily that is happy to conceive it is coming to tell us time talk. But back to the point, right? So that the sport sector is under the Ministry of Sport. And ministry means ministry that everyone works under the ministry are considered civil servants or civil service. So why would I not be shocked if I was Toby Amuson? How does Nigeria treat every other civil service? Many of us think it's going to be different on our own case, you see. That is why we need to dispute and remove some idiotic religious beliefs that speaks to us that we can escape it individually and that wants to find a way of playing elitism. What determine how do they even think? Because it's elitist in its way to think that you will get a better service compared to somebody who is working at the Ministry of Works, for instance, that you could get a better service under this system from somebody who is working under the Ministry of Transportation, that you could get a better service either as a pay from the person that works. I hate to use this example, but it's the same. Who is working under the Ministry of Security? Because if the security man process that thing wey dey buy uniform by his own money, him come dey complain say you no get kit enough, wey dey even sponsor you go there o. The way the security na why majority of times the people who have won us medal in athleticism were from police for a long time, where it was not considered a job, it was considered a borrow course where you fit take time cool off go do am at least side money. So how dare Tobi Amusan not to have taken this into cognizance that the people who work in the Ministry of Health whose retirement could no longer even sponsor their monthly expedition, how dare her think she can get a better service compared to those people? And that if you have never spoken on behalf of these people, you see, this is where these oppressors have mastered the game, that they don't see, they never want us to see that the treatment is the same, regardless of who you are. Na breakfast, na all of us go chop am. But that suddenly, because there are millions of attentions and the global world is watching, according to the athletes, they think suddenly they are special. That idea of believing that you are special is also the same dopamine that the Abrahamic religion release in some people's mind, that they think going and solving systemic issue is something that is secondary, that doesn't affect them.
It's by prayer and fasting.
Yes, it's the same dopamine. Now why I say sports, now why I talk am. For some persons too, who have, well, make I mind the way I talk. For some persons too, in their profession too, they behave in this way. Maybe they climb to the height of their profession without producing any result. They are not demanding from the system to produce any result. That the height of the measurement of the height of the profession is the title, the prefix they didn't come with on earth with, that they now have at the back of their name. And because of that, they would demand from the system to suddenly give them what is not common. No, the only people who will be getting this are the so-called few people in the class of the politicians, the polluters, the politricians. Those are the ones that are exempted. And you know why they are exempted? Because they work direct, they know their unlike the civil service, who don't know who they work for directly. These ones know who they work for. Obasanjo said it here. He knows who they work for. So na my talk be that. Say Toby Amuson to have demanded the special treatment or suddenly realize or conscious to the treatment that the Nigerian civil servants also across board will have received, and to think suddenly a case should be different is also a mistake. Not to have expected it. For me, when I was watching that video, I was, because that's never going to be the first time, and that will never be the last time. Because what we are experiencing is systemic. When it is systemic, it's scientific. Just like our problem is scientific in studying it, our solution too is scientific. It must be. So me, I was like, with the way she is talking and with the way she is relaxed, she had made her preparation already. She had gotten her own gear. I have mastered the gear, the name of what they call the gear, and I'll be looking forward to Amuso. If you can do it and see wherever you capture a picture and see whether it's similar to what what she has displayed. Of course, does the system want to keep the perpetration of evil in silence? Yes, so they might react. Um, um, but yes, there is pointer to reaction. Yeah, they will react. They will definitely react to say, "Oh no, we don't know. You can collect one now and probably send that stuff." But that's not how to change system. Even though that is also expected for human being, provided you are a human being. The basic, at the point of basic, what we are supposed to do is to resist oppression. That does not even need to call for any ideological, any nothing. Forget any rubbish anybody can say. As provided I am human and somebody is oppressing me, I suppose react. Na stimuli in biology. They say that every living thing, one of the characteristics of living thing is response to external stimulus. Okay, if somebody choke you for hand now, you go react. That if you don die, if person don go, regardless of how many times they shook am, no reaction. Na why if you dey fake death, maybe you dey deceive your loved ones, you dey play, the person go come bring their fingers close to where they can trick you to laugh. Na why. And the moment they do that and you do normal, the moment you are able to also master that, it therefore now cause for concern. There are people in history that have mastered that and that have received fake health concern, health emergency, panic emergency that will not be true, right? So, and I think recently some of our men of dogs, have mastered that too. They are coming up with creativity to see how they can master and fake their death experience testimonies. But yeah, so for me, I think so these were the things running in my mind, in my head, that Toby Amuson will not be doing anything bad. And I think should be encouraged considering where we are at. The position where we are at is that we can't make any meaning, too much of meaning from our reality like that. We have not been trained to do so. And so if somebody is reacting and she's responding to this, yes, that's good. But that in our reaction to calls for educating her also, that she should not be acting surprised, and things that would be demanded from our so-called intelligentsias or the so-called bourgeois or the so-called middle class. Anyone who is trying to scale the order of meeting with survivor, because that is the point we are all at. That in Maslow hierarchy of needs, we've not even crossed to security, even though that is the attempt of some persons, but it's not there yet. We cannot say we have security when we do not have health system. That the reason that exposed Obasanjo this much didn't just happen to a random guy, that it happened to a query Madu. Unlike the office of the vice president, this guy was elected and he was the third most powerful person in Nigeria at a point. This is very instructive. That a query Madu is sitting in the jail. I don't know the particular one they designated him to, but I know UK does not have so much jail like that. So he's sitting in one of their jails, right? Now, at a time, could get his way and work his ass to being the first man of the country. And why will he be sitting here? Because there was no health security. He thought everything to him. He thought survivor, being able to eat and wake up again is everything that there is. No, there is need for security, but he won't have this, and he's in jail. So it's our own job to educate some of our professionals, that beyond being able to, being able to put hand for pocket and see money there, there is need to build security, and you cannot build security in isolation. Without system, security, and this is just the second level after meeting the basic needs. This is not even the level of, I think the peak of Maslow hierarchy, even though I would not totally agree with him, but is fulfillment, which I don't think any African people even get to. But yeah, so it's to that we cannot move up that ladder in isolation. That if anyone is serious with really moving up that ladder, they will need to engage systems. They will need to build systems that what could guarantee such security will be a nation. For instance, from this letter, we know we are highly exposed. We know our affairs is highly controlled. Highly controlled. So it's not in error or by omission that the three major contestants, according to them, would be at the Chatham House explaining themselves to their white masters. It's not by omission, it's not by error, it's deliberate. Right? So we're highly controlled. One of the security that we might need is political security and the security of our land, of our safe border. One that will be not too much obvious will be the security of economy, being able to be productive alone by ourselves. Being able to be productive. And that chance we don't have. Like I said, being productive also that we currently have now does not include our intellectual productivity. It just includes being able to make enough to feed, to eat ourselves. And that's not productivity in what efficacy of that word means. But let me stop there because I can go on and on and on and on. Thank you, Civic Space, for bringing the report again to this conversation, because you initiated this conversation. I was not going to talk about this idiot. I didn't plan of talking about this idiot. I woke up this morning, again, just like the pinky and the brain. How do we liberate ourselves? But not focusing on this idiot. But you brought the conversation, and it just clicked with me like, oh, let's go and review this guy. Let's do we can actually now do a comprehensive because it's a two letter page, 2-page letter. And I omitted in the first page, I omitted a paragraph, which is the longest of the paragraph, even in the page I read. So if we can do more exposure on it, right? But let's keep it there. And then thanks again, Civil Space, for what you do. We more needs to be done. We need to amplify our voices in best possible way we can as African people. Vast majority of our people do not understand, and it's not their fault. Comrades, it's not their fault. I know some of us will say, oh, but how did I myself get to consciousness? I, I know if I say this, Africa in the bus is not here, but you might have issue. But I also do not like pointing anything to spiritual. But the mission can find us. We can always find the mission, but I think the mission has found some of us. And the response to that of the mission finding us is to build humility, not arrogance. If I express my own journey in life, I think the mission found me, really. Not that I went to find the mission found me. So it therefore calls for humility, humility to understand our brothers and sisters, to understand them, not to reason with them. You can understand somebody and reason from afar. I think that's what I do for obedience. So I understand them, but I reason with them from afar. We can understand them, right? Understand where they are coming from. We can also still discuss some of the ways we can now strategies to engage. For me, for instance, one of the strategies to engage people who find solace in fold is to ensure that I get them out of that fold. Provided I engage them still within the fold that they are in, nothing is going to change. It's not that it's going to change also by association, because association influence, really. It's not as if that they cannot go back to it, but I have a more likely chance of having a heart-to-heart conversation with somebody outside the association that has conditioned them than having it within that association. And it's a proven effect. So one of the things I do most times when anybody wants to take me up, and I realize that going into the den might be too, especially on Twitter space, because you can't control the direction people come, they interfere, I just say, let's do one-on-one, let's do one-on-one. Call me, or I'll call you. Tell me the platform, we will speak. Let's talk, So these are some of the things that we can employ, but the bottom line is that what they are experiencing now is not, it has nothing in their doing. For the religious folks, I say that there are people who you can get into conversation with, but trust me, their brain is not in the room. And if you see any religious person, that's why I don't argue with religious people personally. Me, no, because I have been there, and I'm not saying this out of still in consciousness of humility, because it's almost difficult. And when I see comrades who are still attaching themselves to religion, I know that something is done, something is happening already. Because for them to be here, they are already having a fight, really. So, and I understand that. In humility, I show that solidarity also. So the long and short is that we should try and understand our system better. That the public service, according to Obasanjo, is designed for a purpose. So let me stop there for now. Thank you for listening, comrades. I know I bored a lot of people. I bored you out and in of the space quite a number of time. Bear with me. I did not promise that I will not bore you for more in future. I will likely bore you more. I know this is truth that is. Um, my wife was seeing Goodbye Okoton, and my wife could not see it through. And I asked her, "How come you cannot see the story of your people through?" She said it's too extreme for her. So I challenged her. No, you cannot tell me that excuse. This thing happened to your people. No matter how horrible it is, you have to see it. You have to see you have to find the courage to see it. Yes, I know it's not interesting. Our story is not interesting. It's terror, it's terrifying. African people have been trained to ignore it and to look away. No, you have to see it. And she said, "Oh, I'm going to see, but I'm not going to see it as fresh." I said, as stretch. I said, "You know what? I can take that." Well, you have to see it. So we have to develop the capacity to watch our own story in 3D. Thank you, comrades. Back to you, Civil Space.